Right. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are. Welcome to our FY25 Leadership Development Program information session, specifically regarding the Leadership Enhancement and Development Program, or LEAD. As Jesse said, my name is Simone Conforto, and I am the Chief of the Leadership Development Directorate within the Learning and Development Division here in the Office of Human Capital Services. I did notice in the chat, there's so many people here. This makes me really, really excited to see so many faces, and did just want to shout out. I did see a few people check in from Connecticut. Just a little fun fact, that is where I started my journey with VBA. So it's really exciting to see all of these folks here from all across the country. And of course, I will be taking you through today's presentation this afternoon. During our time together today, we're of course going to be discussing LEAD, and we'll be covering program staff, eligibility for the program. We're going to provide you an overview of program objectives and methodology, and of course, review the application process and timeline. Lastly, we will provide you an opportunity to ask some questions, and we'll leave you with our contact information. So throughout this session, as questions arise, please do feel free to submit them into the chat box. I will be monitoring the chat the entire time. I will do my best to answer as many questions as I can in the time that we have, but I will capture them all, and we will put together an FAQ and provide those responses out to everybody afterwards. Next slide. So VBA is committed to developing 21st century leaders to meet the needs of our 21st century veterans, and of course, meet the needs of the future of work within the federal government. So in alignment with the department's core leadership competencies, our leadership programs really are meant to enrich our participants' leadership knowledge and competencies by engaging them in critical thought, independent and group learning activities, as well as other ongoing assignments, which you'll hear more about today. So if you are a high-performing GS 10 through 12 employee who wants to grow into more leadership responsibilities, I think LEAD really is a great program for you to consider. As a participant in this program, you're going to build upon your current skill set as a team leader and explore different growth opportunities for yourself within VBA. You will examine the foundations of leadership theory, apply those theories in your current work, and explore a career path for yourself. You're going to learn techniques to build coalitions and focus on driving results. And participants get to hear from VBA leaders at every level of the organization, and they work on a group project where you might potentially have an agency-wide impact, which is really, really exciting. So if you are committed to the VA mission, and you're interested in making a greater impact and willing to engage in learning and self-reflection, I really think this program is for you, and I hope you consider applying to LEAD this year. So here is a picture of our FY24 graduates from the LEAD program. They were such a fun group to work with. And just some fun stats for you. We have noted about 23% of this group has already moved on to new positions, whether it be during the duration of the program or since graduation. So it's really exciting to see the growth that does come from them as they continue their journey. Okay, so without further ado, I would like to introduce you to the LEAD program manager, Mr. William Long. He is a learning management officer here in the Leadership Development Directorate. And the role of the program manager really is to keep the program running smoothly. And he checks in regularly with participants to make sure that they're progressing towards the various program milestones. Mr. Long, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Simone, and good afternoon, everybody. Before we dive into the LEAD program details, I want you to think about a time when a leader made a real difference in your work or personal life. It could have been a supervisor who encouraged you to push past your comfort zone, or a colleague who led by example and helped the entire team excel. These moments can change the course of your career and sometimes even your life. In the LEAD program, our mission is to help you become that kind of leader, one who inspires, motivates, and drives meaningful change. Eligibility. So who is eligible to apply for LEAD? You must have been employed with a VBA for at least 1 year from the application deadline. You must have received at least a fully successful rating in your 2023 and 2024 performance evaluations. You should be able to meet all program requirements, including any necessary travel. You cannot be participating in VIP or a station leadership program while enrolled in LEAD, and you need to commit about 4 hours a week, with only 2 hours being exclusionary from your regular duties. Another important note is a successful completion of LEAD does not guarantee an advancement into a specific position at the VBA. This program is really designed as an opportunity for you to grow your leadership potential and broaden your professional network. LEAD's core objectives are designed to align with both the OPM leadership competency model and the VBA leadership framework. You will learn to demonstrate leadership proficiencies based on these models. You will design and implement an individual development plan using personal assessment tools, practical learning experiencing, mentoring, and shadowing. LEAD emphasizes VA-specific competencies. These include political savvy, partnering, problem solving, accountability, influence, and resilience. To help you develop these competencies, we use several methodologies. It's important to note that these are the components that you'll need to graduate from LEAD. These include completing an EQI assessment to understand your emotional intelligence, engaging in a mentorship partnership, developing an individual development plan, participating in a 2-day shadow assignment, conducting a leadership book review, attending monthly intersessions and complete related assignments, and lastly, you'll complete a team capstone project. For the schedule, it's important to note that these dates are subject to change, but we will communicate any updates to you as soon as they arise. A Foundations Week is currently scheduled for July 7th to 11th in Baltimore, Maryland. Assessment Week is August 11th through 15th. The location is still to be determined. VBA Executive Week is October 27th through 31st in Washington, D.C. The monthly intersessions and assignments. So ongoing online training and independent learning will be at your home station. Mentoring will be 1 hour per week throughout the program. Shadowing will be a total of 16 hours divided into 1 or 2 roles of your choice. And finally, you'll have a team capstone project where you'll work with a project sponsor and a facilitator, culminating in a presentation to VBA leaders. So if you're wondering if LEAD is a good fit for you, you should consider if these if the things on the list pertain to you. So if you're curious about leadership, you want to work with people and grow these relationships, you're committed to personal growth, you have a capacity to manage a dynamic workload and multiple responsibilities, if you strive for excellence in your work, or you're open and flexible to new ideas and approaches, and lastly, you're ready to preserve and overcome obstacles. If any of these statements resonate with you, LEAD is an excellent opportunity for you to reach your professional development goals. For the most current updates or information, you can visit our Learning and Development SharePoint page. My email is also on the screen below. And for any general learning and development questions, you can reach out to our learning and development email. We're always here to help, so please don't hesitate to reach out. So for the application requirements, first you'll complete an online application, which includes submitting an applicant essay, uploading a resume that is no longer than 5 pages, upload your past 2 performance evaluations, and lastly, you'll provide a contact information for your direct supervisor and your executive director. Once you submit the application, your supervisor will be notified via email to complete all their assessments and recommendations. After your first line supervisor completes their tasks, your executive director will be notified via email, and they'll also complete their recommendations. You'll receive an automated Microsoft Teams message informing you when the application package progresses through each stage. And just make sure you coordinate with both your supervisor and your executive director early so you can meet the application deadline. So for the rating criteria, for part 1, your experience will weigh 30% into your application. They're going to be looking for looking at your resume, your application presentation, special assignments, education, results, awards, and honors. For part 2 will be your essay score, which weighs 30%. You answer 4 essay questions, and each is worth a maximum of 5 points. Part 3 will be your immediate supervisor competency assessment. It is worth 20%. Your supervisor will evaluate you based on your leadership competencies, such as leadership, teamwork, interpersonal skills, and acceptance of change. And lastly, part 4. Your executive director recommendation is worth 20%. And you really want to get the highest possible recommendation, or at least a strong recommendation from your executive director. The application selection process timeline. So a quick overview of the application and selection timeline. The applications open this Monday. February 28th, the applications are due to HCS, including your supervisor and executive director evaluations. March 7th, HCS will deliver the compiled data to the district and VACO panels. March 10th through 21st, the scoring panel will convene. They'll be scoring your applications and send the results to me as the program manager. March 21st, HCS will notify the applicants who are not advancing to interviews. March 24th to April 4th, an interview panel will convene. You'll conduct your interview and your scores will be delivered. In April 2025, the Chief of Staff or Deputy Chief of Staff will complete the final review. And in May, the USB office will approve the final program applicants. Just keep in mind that these dates may be subject to change, and just make sure you don't miss any deadlines. And if changes happen, we'll communicate them to you promptly. So I do want to mention that HCS has a great program called Hey VBA, Where Are They Now? This program is designed to engage the community, the alumni community who have attended our leadership programs through HCS. You can check our SharePoint site to learn more about where our leadership program graduates are now. And it really just gives you a sense of what you can get out of this program, and you can see how past alumni have been successful, and you can hear all their stories. I'll now give it over to Simone and open the floor up for questions. Just feel free to unmute your microphones or type any questions in the chat, and she'll address them one by one.
Thank you, Will. So I did see a couple questions coming through. So first, can you tell us the leadership qualities? So I put those in the chat. Those are they're including leadership, teamwork, interpersonal skills, and acceptance of change. It looks like Michael asked, when will the 2025 essay questions be available? So we are going to post all of that information in the SharePoint come Monday morning. So everyone will have access to all of the information, documents, and the link to the application, which does include your essay questions. That will all be available Monday morning. So let's see, what if you worked in another federal government and transferred to VA? Does that count that you worked in a certain GS level for a year? So potentially yes, but the main focus on that year time frame is to ensure that you've been in VBA for at least a year. Next question. So there is no individual capstone, just teams. Is yes, how many people in the team usually? So that's correct. There's no individual capstone project in LEAD. That is a group capstone project, and it does just depend on the amount of folks who are in the program and then how many projects we have. So typically I would say around like I think last year there were about 6 people per group. So VASP and LEAD are different programs. Yes, so the Virtual Aspiring Supervisor program is a VA-wide program. So that's a department-wide program that is offered to folks, and that's completely virtual. Whereas LEAD is really specific to the GS 10s through 12s within VBA, and it's a hybrid program where we bring you in person as well as virtual, and we have you really connecting with VBA senior leaders specifically. Emily asks if your executive director is your immediate supervisor. That is a great question. So if that is your direct supervisor, then I think they will do both. I can certainly get back to you for clarification on that, Emily. Christina asks, can you show the slide of the 4 parts needed for the application? Jesse, do you mind going back to the application breakdown just for a moment? the one with the 4 quadrants. Excuse me. There we go. So yep, so part 1, we look at the application and we look at your resume. We also look at the essays. So again, 4 essay responses. We also take into account the immediate supervisor competency assessment and then the executive director or designee final recommendation. Jose asks how many participants will be selected. So about on average, about 25 to 27. Again, it depends. We typically do not have a large cohort. Last year we had about 26 participants. It is these leadership programs, these leadership development programs are quite competitive. As you heard Will speak to, you have the BQ process where your application is reviewed, and then there's also the interview panel. So quite an intensive process to get into selection. Is travel covered by VA? So yes, so any of the residency sessions, so foundations week, assessment week, and executive week is covered through our office, the Office of Human Capital Services. Now, again, as a reminder, with the change in administration, we are waiting on the final approval of our travel funding. But once that is approved, then we should be good to go on that front. If you have participated in the Virtual Aspiring Supervisor Program, does that disqualify you from submitting an application if you graduate from the program on February 4th? No, it does not. So that is certainly something that you can actually add to your resume, that you are a graduate of the Virtual Aspiring Supervisor Program. And yes, we'll be sharing the recording of this presentation. We will have this up on our SharePoint in the coming days. So we will absolutely share all of this information with everybody. So yeah, Patrick, right, we are currently waiting on things to be ironed out. And of course, as more information is provided, we'll be able to update you as soon as we know more. What is the recommended time frame years of experience required for resume? So our minimum request is that, excuse me, you have at least 1 year of VBA experience. That's the minimum requirement. So of course, as if you've been in longer and you have other positions that you can speak to, not necessarily just VBA, right? If you have experience that you can speak to that you believe is pertinent to joining this program, please absolutely include that on your resume. If you only have an acting direct supervisor, so if you feel that they do not have enough experience with you to provide that evaluation, I'm guessing that's the thought here. Definitely speak with them and see if they have a designee that they would feel more comfortable providing that evaluation for. So yes, the program requirements, you are required as long as the travel funding is in place and we continue moving forward with the in-person sessions. Yes, part of the graduation requirements is that you do travel for all 3 of those in-person sessions. So I know we've answered how many people are selected, how many people apply. That depends year to year. I've seen upwards of 100 applications for each program each year. So. Is it mandatory to have 2 performance if you've been in VBA for more than 1 year but have only received, right? So if you've only received 1 evaluation because you haven't been in VBA for a full 2 years, of course, we understand that comes with that territory. We will review that. Yeah. Okay. So yep, due to the hiring freeze, if there's acting people involved, that's absolutely fine. You absolutely can still apply. Just utilize those folks as your first line supervisor and your director recommendation. So if travel is not something that you can make work, would that be disqualification? So if you have conflicts that you cannot attend the in-person sessions this year, I do highly recommend that you potentially considering applying for the next cohort, as it is a requirement as a part of the program. Certainly still feel free to browse the information and get to know the program a bit. But certainly consider, if travel is out of the picture just because you have conflicts and stuff like that, to consider looking into the next cohort. Okay, program kickoff week, is that all day? So typically what we do for kickoff week is it's not all week, and it's about half days for about 3 days. Then when you're in person with us, those are the full time for that week. So the year count is from the date the application period opens, so February 3rd. So you will not need to take leave when you are on travel. This is considered this is a work trip, so you do not need to take leave for it. If you are a production employee in a regional office, you should be given excluded time for that week while you are on travel. Let's see. So again, if you have pre-plan leave during interviews, again, recommend, if if you feel strongly about it and there's some flexibility there, definitely still worth applying. But if you know for certain that you may be missing some of these key proponents, definitely consider looking into the next cohort. So travel duration, Christy, it's 1 week each session. So you would travel on a Monday, you would be in the classroom Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then you would travel back Friday. And that would happen 3 times throughout the duration of the program. So Melissa, the the best advice I can provide to all of you who want to apply to this program. So I would say, certainly first and foremost, get in touch with your leadership, right? Start having a conversation with your supervisor now about your desire to be a part of this program, and start having that conversation about the development of your skills, and letting them know that this is something that you are extremely interested in. I highly recommend, again, reading up on the program and looking into that Where Are They Now link that I put in the chat, and I'll be sure to put that back in the chat again. Definitely look and see what other people's experiences were, see what they took from it, and if it truly is something that you resonate with and want to be a part of. But I always highly recommend, the very foundational thing is having that conversation with your leaders up front, and begin that conversation about your development. So lots and lots of questions here. Yes, LEAD is currently for GS 10 through 12 employees. The GS 13 through 14 program is the LEAP, the Leadership Enrichment and Progression Program. So GS 13 through 14 is not for LEAD, it's for LEAP. GS 10 through 12 is for this program. Okay. So there are a lot of questions in here. I'm so glad to see everybody engaged. I am tracking all of these questions and I'm going to put together an FAQ and have this available for all of you just to ensure that we are being mindful of everybody's time this afternoon or this morning. I know everybody has a lot on their plates right now. I appreciate your time and your engagement. It's so exciting to see so many of you interested in this program. Um, highly recommend you look into our pages more. Glad to see that we have some Reach graduates in here with us and some other folks as well. I will be sure to capture all of your questions. I'm sorry I couldn't answer them all this afternoon, but I promise we will have responses up on the SharePoint for you ASAP. Okay, so thank you so much for your time this afternoon, and hopefully look forward to seeing so many of your names on the applications this year. I hope you have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week, and I will talk to you soon.